This is Christopher Bruza, and I'm going to talk about ARs today. Filmed the part 2 at the range, but today you get part 1 where I just yap. People have been buying ARs like crazy lately. It seems like there's a ton of first-time AR owners out there. ARs, pistols, shotguns. People seem to be gearing up for home defense or just defense in general. And this is one of the best rifles you could use in a defensive application. So this is my preferred AR. It's a 10.3 inch barrel. It's a registered NFA short-barreled rifle with an AAC SR-5 suppressor, which is also a registered NFA item. So for this rifle, I had to pay the BATFE $400 for the privilege of owning this. And I have to notify them if I take the rifle out of state. Generally, this isn't how you're going to buy a rifle. You're going to buy a rifle that looks like this in the store. This is a Colt LE 6920 carbine. It's close to the Army's M4, but with a 16-inch barrel, and it's obviously not select fire. This rifle I bought for my son the day he was born, and it's never been fired. It just sits in the safe for when he is ready for it. But this is a circa 2010 Colt M4 carbine, civilian model. You'll see it has the Rogers stock on it, which is not military issue. They only use these for a few years. On this side it has Colt Defense printed, and on this side it says Rogers Super Stock. Don't really like it, but it's what came on the rifle, and I am not modifying this. My son can modify this any way he sees fit. He wants to make it an SBR, suppress it, whatever, change anything out, I don't care. But this is an excellent platform to begin on. As it is, it's spectacular for home defense. It's missing one thing that I think it should have. It's not the end of the world. I would rather have this than any modded out pistol or anything like that. So just your general carbine 16-inch civilian no tax stamp rifle. Trigger on it's horrible, but it works and it's going to be reliable. So I've been shooting AR-15s for about as long as I've been shooting rifles. So before we start, this bipod is only here for the video. I'm not going to run a bipod on a defensive rifle. I tried putting it up on different bags and it just looked much better. You're going to get a better view of it with this bipod. So it's on there. It's simply just to hold it during this video. On an AR, you don't need a bipod unless it's very specific circumstances. You'll see these two little Ranger bands. They're little rubber bands that I put around the stock, and that's because I normally run a sling on this rifle. Any defensive gun should have a sling, or any defensive long rifle should have a sling. It attaches up here and around the buttstock, comes around the buttstock, and these are here because when I'm not using the sling or when the rifle's being stored, I wrap it up and it gets stored in those two Ranger bands, then if I need the rifle, I can grab it, move, and the sling's not going to get caught on anything. When I need the sling, I can grab it and just pull it out and sling the rifle up. The castle nut here is obviously staked in an extremely aggressive manner because it's a defensive rifle, and I am going to favor reliability over anything else. Coming to the lower receiver, this is a Spikes tactical lower. It doesn't have any of the funky weird unicorn rainbow engravings that they do. It's just a normal Spider. And it's actually funny, the serial number starts with SBR. Just so happens that way. It's just a general mil-spec style receiver. I don't put a lot of stock in the upper lower receiver. Many people want milled, they want an arrow precision, they want who knows. I haven't encountered one that doesn't work, and I bought 3 of these at a time for like $49 each. It was many, many years ago. Yeah. So Spike's lower receiver. The grip on here is one that I prefer on any AR. It's the Bravo company, and it is rotated in. So I'm running a short length of pull, I'm going to run the rifle in the middle of my body, and it allows me to get my hand in closer. With the General, this is an A2 style grip. You can see this angle here is much smaller right there than it is here. That works, but I find when I use them, especially with an adjustable stock, I tend to roll my hand off the grip so I can get my palm further forward. These Bravo company grips are great. From what I remember, Bravo company were the first to release something like this, but Magpul and other people make them. I don't keep up with the market much. I'm not on AR-15 every day just seeing what the new Gucci gear is. So you get your Bravo company grip, just a simple Magpul trigger guard. It's not straight, gives you slightly more room for gloved hands, which I almost always am shooting with gloves. Clearly, somebody surprises you in the middle of the night, you aren't going to have gloves on. But this gives you more room for when you do shoot with gloves. The magazines I run are Magpul. I don't care if they have the windows, if they're Gen 2, Gen 3. Generally my defensive ones I identify by putting these Ranger pads on the bottom, and these house Black Hills 75 grain boat tail hollow points, and in this barrel length they're running fairly slow, which we'll get to when we talk about the barrel. I shoot AR-15s left-handed. I should probably shoot every rifle left-handed because I am left-eye dominant. But as I learned when I started getting into AR-15s, a red dot, just about any 2-eye open sight, red dot, EOTech, the 2-eye open ACOGs, I can't hit what I'm aiming at if I hold it right-handed unless I close my left eye. Because I learned to shoot right-handed, I have a lot of trouble taking anything bigger than a .308 on the left side. So my competition guns, my hunting guns, I'm going to shoot right-handed. So the magazine release on this side looks normal. It is an ambi mag release. It's an ambi-mag release where it pivots right here in the middle. They have a few different ways these work. I prefer these. I don't recall the company that makes them right now. But you just push on the back side, magazine drops free. So that's what all of my AR-15s have. I do not run an ambi bolt release because the stock bolt release is kind of set up for a left-handed shooter. At least the way I've learned to reload, works really well for a left-handed shooter. So there's no bad lever or anything weird like, I mean the bad lever kind of makes it better for a right-handed shooter, but there's nothing weird like that on my guns. I run a normal ambidextrous safety, various different brands, they all work fine. I haven't encountered one that's bad. This one I think it's LMT, I think it's an LMT ambi safety. This would be my first upgrade being a left-handed shooter to an AR-15. This stock rifle, I grab this, being a left-handed shooter, there's no safety on this side, so to engage it, generally what's more comfortable for me, reaching my thumb around and slapping it down. You could shoot like that, but an ambi safety is the first thing I'm going to do. You could also kind of use your trigger finger to slap it down, but then your trigger finger is tied up. Even if you're a right-handed shooter, there's a lot of times when you're going to shoot left-handed, especially in a defensive situation. You take any class, you're going to be shooting your primary hand and your offhand, especially depending on what side of the doorway you're on. So even if you're a righty, it's probably a good idea to upgrade the safety. And the safety controls the trigger. I mentioned mil-spec triggers are horrendous, and they are. I don't know if you would notice it in a defensive situation. I've never been in a defensive shooting. I hope I never am. Don't think you'd notice it there, but you're going to notice it when you're shooting it at the range. A better trigger is going to make you a better shooter. It's going to give you more confidence, and you're going to have a better time shooting it. So I run the Geissele triggers in all of my AR-15s, and several different rifles I use the Geissele trigger. I prefer the SSA-E model, which is what this has. I have a couple rifles with the SSA. I have not tried the 3-gun or Super 3-gun, or they're more gamer type triggers. I'm sure they're great and dependable, but these are issued to various military units, and if they use them, it's probably going to be good enough for me. Coming up to the trigger pins, I don't use any of the anti-rotation things. It's never been a problem. Might have a gun or two with it. I think the JP came with it. Anyway, it's not required. It's, in my opinion, kind of snake oil. So on this rifle, coming up, the upper receiver is not a spikes to match the lower. If you buy a new rifle, they're obviously going to match. This is a Rainier Arms forged upper receiver, and just a standard dust cover. There's nothing funny written inside of it or like that. Just a standard forward assist. I've never needed it, but Most uppers come with it. I'm not going to seek one out that does not. So coming up from the forward assist, I have a Noveske charging handle. It's a copy. I don't know, I'm assuming Rainier Arms makes it. It's very similar to several people's. Rainier Arms, Noveske makes them, Bravo Company makes them. It's an ambidextrous charging handle with the little bump on the back, which is for a suppressor. I don't see it helping much with the suppressor, but it's how they come. I prefer these because I shoot as a lefty, but even as a righty, they seem to run smoother. When you're grabbing one side of this and yanking on it, you put a ton of torque on the charging handle running in a slot, and these seem to run much smoother than the original style charging handles. I'm not partial to brand as long as it's a enlarged, true ambidextrous style. I'll use it, whatever's on sale, whatever's in stock. Coming up, that brings us to the rear, and I guess the front, open sights. A 1X AR-15 for defense, in my opinion, should have open sights, and I generally run a lower 1/3 co-witness. These are the Scalarworks sights, and I had put off for several years buying these because they were so pricey. You'll see a lot of my AR-15s have got the Troy Battle flip-up sights, which are great sights. For this rifle, being I built exactly what I wanted, I went with the Scalarworks sights, and these are worth every penny. They are spectacular sights. The way they machine the rear aperture truly improves your vision. The quality is exceptional. The detents on it, the adjustments, the contours, there's no machining marks. And I've used other Scalarworks products. This mount is not Scalarworks. If I were to buy it again, it probably would be. But I've used a few of their different shotgun products, and they're spectacular. It is a very good company. They even include a bit. The screw that secures these is a T25, which is bigger than most things on the rifle, and they include a very high quality bit to use with your torque driver. That brings us to the aiming system, or the primary aiming system. This is an Aimpoint T2 micro, because the micro is redundant, with a 2 MOA red dot. I have EOTech's Aimpoints, T3, T4, T2, T1s, and I really prefer the T2. I'm interested in trying the Comp M5, but the T2s work great. I've used them on muzzle loaders, ARs, pistols, and I've never had a failure with the sighting system. I've had issues with the screws, and their service isn't spectacular. It took a while. Other than my own doing, I've never needed service. So generally I'm going to favor the Aimpoint sights. The battery on these lasts years. Generally I change them every year. And The adjustments seem accurate enough, not that with zero magnification you're going to be shooting, half MOA groups. So this is on a LaRue mount. LaRue makes very good stuff. I've used it for as long as I've been shooting. I've never had any issues with their products, and retains zero very well. Not that I'm gonna, take it off, on and off. There's no need to. I can see the open sights through this red dot. And when you actually sight the open sights, the red dot matches your aiming point. That's generally how I'm going to obtain my zero on the open sights, and I'll verify it. I'll turn this off and shoot it. Which brings us to zeroing. There's a lot of contention as to where to zero. 25 yards, 100 yards, 300 yards. I zero just about everything I own at 100 yards for a long gun. This is the only rifle that is the exception, and I zero at 37 yards. So for a defensive roll, I put my aiming point, the center of mass, and within 0 to 200 yards, I'm going to have a shot in the vitals. And that is with a fairly low muzzle velocity. Because I'm running a 10.3 inch barrel, my muzzle velocity is only about 2,250 feet per second, with a 75 grain boat tail hollow point in a factory Black Hills load. The barrel is a 10.3 inch Rainier Arms Ultra Match 223 Wylde chamber. So it'll accept 5.56 and 223. And the gas block is a Superlative Arms adjustable gas block. It vents the gas up here to gas block. A lot of the adjustables, they just choke the gas off, so you get a ton of gas back when running a suppressor into the chamber area. The Superlative Arms vents it up front. So this is a great, easily adjustable, it's got nice detents, you can feel them, gas block. When I received the barrel and gas block, I sent it off to Adco, and they put dimples in the barrel where the set screws from the gas block engage the barrel. And from there, when it was tightened down, I staked those set screws into place. So this is secure, it's not going anywhere, and I'll probably have to drill the screws out when I change the barrel. Coming forward, I'm running a quick detach AAC SR-5 suppressor. It's not a titanium suppressor, it's stainless steel. 5-inch suppressor, 223 caliber. It's a quick detach, which engages a 90 tooth AAC muzzle brake. AAC also makes a 51 tooth for different suppressors. This one requires the 90 tooth. Usually, you'll see on most of my AR-15s, I run the actual muzzle brake. This is just a flash hider. It's a 3-prong flash hider. Generally, I run the muzzle brake. I'm guessing when I bought this, I didn't really care because I'm always running it suppressed. I did tune the gas to work without the suppressor, and my zero without the suppressor is within an inch or so of with the suppressor. So I can run this rifle with or without the suppressor, but I've shot it very few times without. The flash hider is not pinned to the barrel or anything. It's secured with Rockset, and that is all. The suppressor, I normally keep a heat cover on it for Mirage, and I took it off the video so you could actually see the suppressor, not a bunch of fabric wrapped around it. These suppressors are great. They're the only, I have 3 of them. They're the only 223 caliber suppressors I own, and I only have one other that is a quick detach. I generally go for the direct thread, but in an AR that's not prudent. You're always going to be running a flash hider or break something on the end of the barrel. This isn't the Clinton era, so we run muzzle devices. It threads on fairly quickly. You can hear it tightening down. So hand tight, and it retains 0 extremely well. On off, no issue. With or without the Mirage cover, probably because it's a short barrel, I don't have any issues between 0 with or without it. As I mentioned earlier, the bipod is only for the video to hold the rifle. The item we have not covered, and which I view as the most important on a defensive gun, is a flashlight. This is a Surefire Scout 300. I believe it's 100 lumens, and I run the Surefire Scout on just about any long gun that needs a light. Unless there's a dedicated light made for it, I'm going to run a Scout. Whether it's a 300, 600, there's a lot of people that think 100 lumens is about ideal for a inside the house type rifle. You aren't going to get blinded by it shining off walls and things like that. I don't know. I'll run anything between 100, 300 lumens. I don't want a 1,000 lumen flashlight on a short barreled AR. Usually my flashlights are mounted to Haley's strategic thorn tails to get them bent over and out farther. But on this rifle with this rail, which I completely skipped, this is a Geissele Mark IV 9.5 inch rail. So here you have a 9.5 inch rail on a 10.3 inch barrel. They match up extremely well. This rail, I love Geissele rails. Geissele products in general are spectacular. Their rails I have on just about every AR I own. This one is a Mark IV. It's got your sling attachments here and up here behind the flashlight, m-lok on the side, Picatinny on the top, and you've got short little Picatinny sections at the 3, 9, and 6 o'clock marks. This is probably my favorite rail that they make. So going back to the flashlight, with the suppressor, I couldn't run the thorn tail, and I'm just running the stock Surefire mount mounted to the 9 o'clock Picatinny rail. I changed the back end out for the dual tail cap, and this dual tail cap does not work with the thorn tail. The way it positions the flashlight, it interferes with the actual thorn tail itself. You could probably grind it away, machine it away in that area. So being I'm left-handed, my hand's going to be over here and generally reaching around to the pressure pad. My wife and my son are right-handed, or shoot ARs right-handed. So their hand's going to be on this side. They could use a pressure pad, but I figured this tail cap gives them the extra option to have a momentary push button and a full-on click without using the pressure pad. Now, this is the original Surefire pressure pad in a cloud defensive mount, and the way I hold the rifle and use the rifle, having the pressure pad on the 12 o'clock rail works for me, and these cloud defensive mounts work exceptionally well at the 12 o'clock. So I was actually on the pre-order when cloud defensive was forming, and I bought 5 or 6 of these, and they're all I use. I haven't had to buy them since. I know they have improved products now and many different options, but this is the original and it works great. It secures everything. I used to have to use like the LaRue clips for the wires, and that's a thing of the past. These cloud defensive mounts work great. So we covered the suppressor, rail, sights, buttstock, trigger, grip. The great thing about the AR is you can make it into anything you want, and as long as it goes bang when you pull the trigger, it's going to serve you well. So I appreciate you watching. Please subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video, and until next time, enjoy.